I believe we're live. There we go. Now we're live. Hello, Bustmob. Happy Wednesday. I am, as you can see, at work today. Normally I work from home on Wednesdays, work remote, but Monday my daughter didn't have school, so I worked remote on Monday instead. So I wanted to come in today. You can see the background. If you've checked out Bustmob's Instagram and you've seen our reels, background looks familiar. So anyways, I am here to answer any questions you ladies have. In the previous week, we've been asking you, like, do you have any questions? We've been crowdsourcing some questions from Bustmob's Instagram. If you didn't know, Bustmob has an Instagram, and it's Bustmob. And I got a bunch of questions from you ladies, but as I'm talking and answering these, if you have questions live, that's why I'm here. So just drop it in the comments. I can see it over there, and I can read them and answer them as we go. So with that said, I'm going to launch into the Q&A, answer the questions that you guys have asked in advance. And again, if you got questions, drop them in the comments. I'll make sure to answer them. And if I can't answer them, I will find somebody who can. Because I am very upfront if I don't know the answers. I'm not going to make something up, because that would be weird. Okay, so first question. We got a lot of good questions. The first question was, what are the different types of implants? Now, I'm talking about breast implants, not teeth implants. That is a big question, first of all. So we got lots of options, right? And that's what makes breast implants so cool these days, because you can truly tailor the look you want, the feel you want, the shape you want with breast implants nowadays. Because before, it was kind of like a one size fits all. Everybody gets saline. And it was just a weird time in the 90s. But we're not there anymore. Welcome to 2022. So with breast implants, I will get to you, Amy. I love that you asked a question already. We have different types of implants. We have silicone implants. It's filled with silicone. There's saline implants where it's filled with a sterile salt water, saline. So you have two basic options right there right off the bat. Do you want silicone or do you want saline? Now, most people get silicone because they feel more like breast tissue. But if you already have breast tissue, to cover the implant, it's going to feel natural whether you go through with saline or silicone. So the more breast tissue you have, kind of the more options you got. But for most people, they chose silicone because it does feel softer like breast tissue. I had saline implants for 10 years, loved them, had a B cup before, and it was just enough tissue to cover it, but I liked that kind of firm look. And I didn't mind that they were kind of firm. That's just the look I wanted. So it really just depends on you, your goals, what you like, that sort of thing. Now, branching outside of saline versus silicone, you also have the option, not always, but some will give you the option of a teardrop. See how if I lay it like this is the top and this is the bottom. So imagine this like my boob. So anyways, some people can choose a teardrop or an anatomical shaped implant or a round one. So typically, almost always, teardrops are going to be textured because you don't want this bad boy flipping upside down and the bottom of the implant being at the top of your boob, right? That would be weird. So typically, these are textured, shaped ones are textured. Round ones can be smooth or textured. So that's about as far as I'm going to go with the different types because it's so customizable these days. You can choose what it's filled with. You can choose whether or not you want texture or not. Typically, that's left up to the discretion of the surgeon. And if you need textured implants, there also comes with some risk factors to it, like back in the day. So always a conversation to have with your surgeon. But there's also profiles. That's like the width of the implant, the height of the implant. So nowadays, being able to truly customize what you want to see in the mirror. Do you want them to be more round? Do you want them to be more soft? Do you want them to be squishy? Do you want them to be more firm? Do you want them to be wider? Do you want more projection? You got options these days. So that's one really cool thing that I love about breast implants. All right, Amy. Is it common for women to require Galaflex or internal bra with larger implants? I wonder if you're the one that asked this on Instagram. So I'm just going to skip ahead, Amy, because somebody asked this question. It says asking for mesh and hearing no from with a primary breast augmentation for larger implants. Why? This might not have been your question, Amy, but it is a hot topic in Bustmob right now, and it is worth talking about. So if you haven't checked it out, I interviewed Dr. Hunter. Last week, I pinned it to the top of Bustmob. I asked him this exact question so you can get an actual surgeon answering why it's not necessary to get mesh with your breast dog. But it is not common, no. And I will tell you why. So mesh is created to be used to correct a problem. It's not used to prevent a problem. It's used to correct a problem. So yes, the larger implants you get, the more risks there are for bottoming out, for things like that. That's just the nature of our breast tissue, our skin being able to hold the implant in place, all of those things. However, if a surgeon's giving you implants, they shouldn't have the frame of mind that I'm going to put an implant in here so large that you're probably going to bottom out. Like, that's probably not what the conversation is going to lead to. It's, hey, this is a size implant that'll fit best with your body and your anatomy, so you won't have those complications. Some surgeons, I know there's one in South Florida, that will always use Galaflex with a primary first-time breast augmentation because they are so large. He specializes in extra large breast implants, like 1,000 cc's plus, which are saline implants. Now that's a completely different case. Like, you're already signing up to bottom out, right? But for most people, for most women, like if you're getting between the 300s and the 600 range, adding mesh just increases your likelihood of having complication because you're adding an additional piece of hardware to your body, right? You're putting in a foreign object, an implant, and then you're adding a second foreign object, which is mesh. So your likelihood of developing a complication from trying to prevent a complication goes up. It's more expensive. Some are permanent, some are temporary, some dissolve, some don't. So that's something to consider. My advice, most surgeons aren't going to use mesh for a first-time breast dog because you really just don't need it. So keep that in mind. I hope that answers your question, Amy. Love my vibe. Thank you. First of all, let me talk about this for a second. See, the purple wasn't supposed to be purple. It was supposed to be a toner to lift it, and then it accidentally turned my hair purple. So joke's on me. But anyways, I hope that answers your question, Amy, because the girl that asked it was having consultations and asking for it, and they were saying no. And that's the reason why. It increases the risk for additional complications. You're not actually using it to prevent something from a first time. So why is mesh used? Why is it created? So when somebody bottoms out and the implant falls below the crease, the inframammary fold, you probably hear that term too. But the fold, it's starting to bottom out, right? It's falling. You put the mesh in there to hold it up and for like extra reinforcement to hold the implant in place. Now, one of our moderators, Melissa, she got mesh recently. She talks about it all the time inside of Bustmob. So if you have questions about mesh, I would definitely reach out to Melissa Tarling. She's had it. She's experienced recovery from it, so she's a good person to talk to. She did not have it with her first one. She got it to correct bottoming out. So that being said, imagine if, like, okay, mesh is also used to repair hernias, right? Now, just because hernia is something that might happen to me one day, would I go to the doctor and be like, hey, just in case I have a hernia, could you just go ahead and put the mesh on my stomach just to prevent like any laxity in my abdominal wall because I don't want to get a hernia? No one would be like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's do that. Because you don't know if you're going to have a hernia. So it's like not necessary. That to me is mesh with a first-time breast dog. If you're going within a range that's more for your anatomy. Now, for people who are going to like go really big, more power to you, you might need to consider like a Dr. Revis. Dr. Revis uses mesh for his first-time breast dogs because he does such extra large implants. And in that scenario, it can be helpful. But for most of us, we don't need it unless we have a problem. Melissa Todd. This may not be the case at all, but if you're borderline lift, I love this question. Anytime I hear borderline lift, if you're borderline lift, I would always suggest getting the lift. I got an anchor lift, and feel free to message me. Yes, that's right. People usually get mesh with a revision to correct. I like that Melissa said that. With a borderline lift, you kind of have the option of getting implants with no lift or getting implants with the lift. And it really comes down to, well, what look do you want? Do you want a very soft, natural look? You might not want to get the lift. But if you want them higher and tighter on your chest and like perkier, then getting that lift is definitely going to move that nipple position higher and make things like a little bit firmer, but tighter. Your skin's going to be tighter. So you kind of have the option to be like, well, what do I like? Do I want them perky and higher? Do I want them more soft and lower and natural? So you kind of got options with the borderline lift. That's all right. All right. So make sure I didn't miss anybody. All right, cool. Next question I got was, how is a breast lift performed? That's a really interesting question. Basically, a breast lift, you're not removing tissue. Typically, you're removing excess skin. So you're going to cut around, well, we aren't, but you get cut around the areola, right? And then down the midline. So that's where your scars are going to be. But typically, they cut out a triangle portion from your areola down, like here, and then they take this and bring it together. So it's like bringing it all up and tight. And then they suture it up. That's why sometimes when you wake up from a breast lift, your boob might look a little pointy because of like the suturing. Like they brought the skin in and tightened it up. It might look pointy. It might look flat. That's normal. It's just because of the tension of the skin being brought together. All of that will even out and like round out as time goes on. So when you look at your boobs after a lift, don't be alarmed. They don't look like that. It's like with any surgery. They should really like bind us up where we can't see anything for 6 to 9 months, but that's not realistic, and I get that. Amy, I'll be getting a larger implant placed by Dr. Pyle. That's my surgeon too. Next May, I'm at 415 now, hoping for 800s. Woo! So with 800s, you're probably reaching for a highly cohesive Allergan implant because Sientra, the other brand we carry, they only go up to 700. So if you're wanting 800s, you're going to have to either do saline or switch to Allergan implants, just so you know, Amy. Okie dokie. Next question. Oh, let me finish with lift, though. That's how you do a lift. But there are lots of types of lifts. There's like a crescent lift, where it's just a part of it, of the areola, like boop, just a little bit. There's a donut, looks like a donut, goes around your areola. Now, those aren't usually performed as widely because if you're just tightening the skin around the areola to bring it in, imagine all that tension just being on your areola. That's a lot of pressure. So usually over time, they start to spread a little bit. So you'll get scar spreading from just a donut lift. So a lot of surgeons won't do a donut lift because they don't want that scar to stretch and spread around the areola. So keep that in mind. Then there's a lollipop lift. It looks like a lollipop. It goes around the areola and down the midline of the breast. That's it. And then there's an anchor lift that I've had. It's like the biggest one. It goes around the areola, down the midline, and then you get a little anchor at the bottom underneath your breast in the crease. So you got options. Depends on how much skin you need removed, how little you need removed. Depends on which lift is best for you. Chloe, I'm almost 4 weeks post-op. A lift and implant exchange. Pocket repair. Sorry, when you talk by yourself for so long, it's like, let me take a breath and a drink of water. Post-op, a lift, implant exchange, pocket repair, capsular contracture. My nipple and under boob area still seem quite numb. That's pretty normal. I've had a reduction, breast augmentation, implant exchange with a lift because I breastfed my baby, And then I had implant exchange with liposuction. So I've had a few. Um, but mine are, let me check. Mine are still a little numb on the bottom of my breast, like from like just the bottom parts. But above, it was funny. Like with my last one, Chloe, this one kind of freaked me out. It was like from the top of my areola to here, like all of this was numb. And I was like, what? But then, like, as time went on, it all came back. And I see threads in Bustmob all the time, like, how long did it take for nipple sensitivity to come back, numbness to come, like, to go away? And the number varies vastly based on the person because we're all so uniquely made, right? But for me, like, this numbness up here went away in probably 3 months, I would say. 4 weeks, you're still pretty freshly post-op. And it's funny, like this numbness happened on my fourth one. Like that never happened with my other ones. So there's so many nerves in here that can get damaged like through the breast implant process or breast lift process because they're so tiny, you can't even see them. But that's what those zingers are. It's like your nerves talking to each other again and regenerating, coming back together. So when you start feeling those zingers, as annoying as that is, it's actually really beneficial because it's alerting your brain and you, like, hey, things are firing, things are coming back together. So I wouldn't be freaked out at 4 weeks because it can take months for a lot of that numbness to go away. So don't worry. Now let's say you know what? So someone in Bustmob 2 weeks ago posted that her nipples were numb for 8 years. And then out of nowhere, it came back for the previous 2 years. And I'm like, whoa. I feel like that gives everybody hope who has a numb nipple, right? I was like, dang, numb for 8 years and then suddenly, like, that's pretty cool. I like that stat. That's where mine were numb too. Yeah. And with my last one, with this being all numb up here, I had a scar revision surgery too. So they actually cut out the scars of my anchor. So that may have just damaged the top too. So, but it's all back to normal. So hang in there, Chloe. You're welcome for the coffee. I totally forgot to check and see if you guys have used it all. 1 week, it was like $42 was still left. And I'm like, what? Do I need to go get some coffee? I'm going to see if there's any left on it. So if there is, go check it out. I put a Starbucks gift card in the group. Loaded it for $50 every Wednesday, but if you can hop on it, you can get some. Let's see. Oh, there's $23 left. Where are we at? $23.62. So go get some coffee, y'all that are listening. It's in the group somewhere. I was going to pin it to the top, but then I was like, there's like all of the surgeon lives at the top, which I think are really helpful and beneficial. So I didn't want to like clutter the pinned featured stuff with a Starbucks gift card, but there's still money on it, so go check that out. All right. Next question was, how do I pick up my kids after surgery? And I love this question because, let me pull it up real quick. I filmed a video when I was 2 weeks post-op. My daughter was 15 months old, and I was recovering from a breast lift and an implant exchange. And I showed people on Instagram how to safely pick up your child while recovering from a breast surgery. I'm going to drop it in the comments. So that's my old Instagram account that I don't use anymore. My current account I use is just for like family and friends and stuff. If you want to follow that one, it's, I'll just share that one too. It's Jenny Phillips. So I do get questions on jenny.eden sometimes, but I'm not there anymore. Oh, cool. I spelled my Instagram wrong. Don't click on that. But the video I posted, that is me showing women how to pick up a kid while you're recovering from a breast surgery. So it's important not to do anything with your arms out here, like picking a kid up from the crib. Don't do that. Or putting a kid into like a car seat. As long as, like, you got to keep your elbows in. Like, that's very important because that's going to protect your chest. So the video I posted is showing my little girl coming up to me kneeling down, bringing her to me, and then using my legs to stand up. And then I would use my legs again to release her. So there was never any use of my chest muscles, and that's really important. For how long? I'm going to, okay, I was like, what are we talking about? Here's what my surgeon said. He said, it's not realistic to believe that a mother is not gonna pick up their child, right? That's why he showed me how to do that video. He said, like, I had help the first week. My mom came into town, helped me. But the second week is when I implemented that move over in the comments. And it really, I mean, it felt like a step of freedom in a way. Like, I was able to pick her up and move her around, and it was fine. But you can like resume any and all normal activities after 6 weeks. That's working out, picking up your kids, just don't go crazy, and watch out for their little feet when you're changing their diapers, because sometimes those feet will kick, and then you don't want to get kicked in the boob, and then you're going to be worried. Whew. May or may not have happened to me, but I was fine. But yeah, that video has helped a lot of people. And when I used to use that Instagram, I shared it a lot because it was just super helpful. And just so I can learn how to spell, I'm going to, all right. So that's my current Instagram now, if you want to follow me. All right. Because I shifted away from Jenny.Eden, even though there's a lot of followers on there. It was confusing because I was doing so much like patient education on Jenny Eden. And then we also had the Bustmob Instagram, where I was also doing the patient education. So it was like, why do I have these two platforms? So it's Jenny Phillips is like my personal family. I post about work, just like a normal Instagram. Can you talk about Sientra 106 and 107? This is probably 107. Yep. It was like 106. This is 106. Okay. All right. I got both right here. So, Stephanie, let's talk Sientra 106 versus 107. So, first of all, the 1 means smooth. If you see 206 or 207, it's textured. But we don't have those laying around. I only have smooth ones. So, this is the 107. Okay. So, let me make sure I got them in order so I do this correctly. Okay, 106 is right here. 107 is right here. So with the 106, it's a little bit softer, just a tiny bit softer, but it's made to be more natural when in the body. So see if I sit it up like this, like it's in your chest wall, it kind of like swooshes a little bit, right? It settles more to the bottom. It's going to give a more natural feel. Now here's the 107. See how it keeps its shape at the top right here? And this is the one see how this one slumps more and this one keeps its shape more. So if you're wanting more of that upper pull, like definition at the top of the breast, the 107 is going to hold its shape better. Because see, I can smush it down and it rebounds right back up. Smush, back up. The gel in the 107 is also very soft. Like Sientra formulated their gel to be as close to breast tissue as possible. That was their goal. But the way they kind of laid, this is going to sound really stupid, but the way they laid their like silicone molecules is like a lattice. So most are like this, but theirs is like this. So it kind of like, it acts more like breast tissue, which is really cool. And it's very different than all the other implants on the market. And they have a 20-year warranty with their implants, whereas Allergan and Mentor have a 10-year warranty. So I think that's pretty cool too. But I know at Amelia, the 107s are $500 more than the 106s because they're just a more expensive implant from Sientra. But those are basically different. If you want a more soft look, a 106. If you want a more augmented look that keeps its shape a little bit better, a 107 is where you go. I have 107s. I used to have saline implants for at least 10 years. I loved them. But then Sientra implants came out, and then it piqued my interest, and so I was like, I want to swap them out. So I swapped them out for 107s, and I really like them. And people ask, are they soft? How do they feel compared to like a saline implant? Honestly, the only time I notice them being softer, because I don't squeeze my own boobs all the time, is when I'm laying on the ground. Like if I'm doing yoga or working out and I have to lay like on my chest on a hard surface. When I had salines, it was pretty, I don't want to say uncomfortable because it didn't hurt. It was just very noticeable and it felt odd. Now when I have the 107s now, when I lay down, they give, right? They smush. And that to me is more comfortable when I'm working out, doing yoga, exercising, laying on the floor with my kid, anything like that. So comfort wise, I like the 107 silicone better, but the look of both to me, I like both. So I like their sizing the best. It's a happy medium of projection. I have old saline that is like water in a Ziploc bag. It's gonna feel so weird to me. I think either I'm worried either will be stiff. So I don't know how much breast tissue you have, but that's kind of the benefit of starting out with some, is because that's going to lay over the implant and it's going to feel squishy because your tissue's on top of it. Going over the muscle, under the muscle doesn't matter. So I had a B cup. So my B cups over a saline felt way squishier than someone who had nothing to start with and got salines. Now, if we're going to go down the saline rabbit hole for a hot minute, which I love. I think saline is a good option for some people, and I really hate that salines get a bad rap. It's just my opinion. I get why silicone's so, I don't want to say superior, but the option most women gravitate towards. But for me, I chose saline. I don't have them now, but I chose saline because it was the mental, I want to know if there's a rupture. I want to know if there's something wrong with the bag. I wanted a firmer look. I wanted them to look as augmented as possible. And to me, that was saline. But since switching to silicone, they still almost look the same. They just feel a little bit different. So B cups covering the implant to me feels about the same. But everybody's different, right? And projection of implant, the profile of implant will definitely change the way they look, but I didn't. I stayed high profile to high profile, so my projection was exactly the same. Becky, just got home from surgery. Oh, congratulations. We've been talking back and forth. That's exciting. I wonder how you feel. Let me know how you feel. Throw it in the comments because I really want to know. All right. I'm probably going to go over it today, but I had a lot of really good questions, and I really want to answer them. Breastfeeding after getting breast implants. Another question. Actually, it wasn't a question, but it was kind of like a statement, but I understood it. Breastfeeding after implants. So let's say you don't have kids, and you waited. You got implants for. Okay, so this is my story completely. I didn't want to wait to have kids. I wanted to get implants now. There was no plan in the future of when I was going to have kids. So I was like, you know what? If it's not like in 1 or 2 years and we don't know that we're going to do this thing, let's just get implants now. So I did. Fast forward 6 years, I had Hazel, my daughter, and I breastfed. And that's the thing most people worry about. They're like, will I be able to breastfeed if I get implants and then I get pregnant? And the saying is, if you could breastfeed before implants, you can breastfeed after implants. And typically women with smaller breasts naturally will have a larger milk supply than someone who has larger breasts to start with, which I thought was bananas because I was naturally a 36 triple D before I had a reduction. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to be like a milkmaid. No, I was not a milkmaid. I didn't make that much at all. But turns out my grandma couldn't breastfeed, my mom couldn't breastfeed, and I could a little bit, but I had to supplement with formula. But if you're worried about breastfeeding, most women, I don't know the percentage, but you could ask in Bustmob, almost all women are able to breastfeed their babies after getting implants because we're not damaging those milk ducts or anything. I had a reduction, so back in 2004, reductions are so different nowadays. But back then, it was like a big procedure. I had to go to the hospital and do all this crazy stuff. But, I mean, they just go in there and scoop it all out. I was a triple D. I woke up barely a B cup. Like, they took out so much breast tissue, So it definitely damaged my milk ducts, right? With the breast augmentation and a breast lift, there is none of that. We're not touching the milk ducts. We're not damaging the milk ducts. Under the muscle, if you do a crease, you're actually bypassing all of it completely. But one thing to consider, if you do choose the areola incision, there's a tiny risk of some sort of interruption with the milk ducts because there's a lot of nerves and milk ducts right there. So keep that in mind. But a crease is always a great option to go if that's something you're really, really concerned with. You are a milk machine 6 years after implants. I'm a little jealous, but I'm very proud of you. Man, I was breastfeeding for 45 minutes on each side, I think, and then I'd take a 30-minute break or an hour break. Then I would start pumping. I'd pump for 45 minutes, take another break, then I'd breastfeed again. I did that for 3 months. It was like, I felt like a cow hooked up, my udders were hooked up, and I wasn't getting a whole lot. And it was a hard 3 months, but genetics, breast reduction, just wasn't in the cards for me. Oh, this is a fun question, Savannah. Is fibrosis common with bra line lipo? I definitely feel like that's what I have. I'm only 3 weeks post-op. Oh, okay. First of all, I don't know anything about fibrosis and bra line lipo. I bet a surgeon would, but I can definitely ask. But I will say I've had bra line lipo, and it is definitely lumpy and bumpy and weird. Is that what you're feeling? Because lumpy and bumpy after lipo is pretty normal at first. So I had liposuction on my bra line, my chin, submental liposuction right here. And after the first week, it was like I had like little balls almost. Like it felt like little marbles in there. So I took like my what's this thing? Not the red pen, but the thing you like roll your face with. I don't know. But I rolled it right here every morning and night, and I just rolled them out, and it was gone. But the same with like bra line liposuction. Man, like I don't think I realized. Well, I didn't. I had no idea what to expect with liposuction, right? Because you've never done it before. So I thought it was going to be easy peasy. But no, it felt like if these are my sides after liposuction, it felt like, whoa, like they were protruding a little bit, almost like I had an inner tube around my sides. Like putting my arms down hurt because they wouldn't lay flat because there was such a bump there from the liposuction. But I'd use that same roller. What is that thing called? It's not a gua sha, but it's like, the same concept. The thing you roll your face with that's green jade. But I would rub my sides right here too, and that felt really good, and it helped everything just kind of like, maybe it's part of like the whole lymphatic massage idea, but it helped to lay things flat easier. But for me, it took a couple of weeks for that to go down. So that might be what you're feeling, Savannah. It is like hard swelling. Like when I think swelling, I think smushy, but under my bra line, like it was tough. It felt firm. It was like firm swelling, but it went away after probably 2 to 3 weeks. Thank God. But the bruises were still there. So make sure you get some arnica gel. But with fibrosis, I'm going to write this down and get back to you because I've never heard that, but that don't mean nothing. Fibrosis. I'm not a surgeon, so I didn't really learn about fibrosis and bra lines. And bra line, Savannah Jarvis. That's easy to remember. Okay. Yes, super lumpy and thick. Yes. Okay. My comments just refreshed. That is exactly what it feels like. That was for me too. It was lumpy, it was thick, it was hard, it was uncomfortable. But yeah, the one around here felt like a rope. The one up here felt like marbles. But definitely get like a roller, or even like might be painful. You might want to check with your surgeon first. But those foam rollers you can roll your back with? That sounds really painful. But just having something rub on it just to help displace that angry tissue will help a lot. It helped me. And definitely by 3 weeks, that will go away. Yeah, and I had no idea what to expect either. So here we are, helping each other out. Melissa Todd, is it also painful for a long time? I had the bra line lipo and I'm still sore at 5 weeks. See, I had it done 2 years ago. And I just remember once I was able to like lay my arms flat, I was okay. I was mentally, I was on to the next thing. Um, so at 5 weeks, I'm sure I was still sore, but for some reason, seeing the bruises gave me so much gratification that it was like that it worked, you know? And so I don't know, I got in my head a little bit on how happy I was after the swelling went down. It probably was uncomfortable. Maybe my breasts were probably uncomfortable too, but I don't remember. Stephanie, why do pre-op instructions say no red wine for 2 weeks before and after? Ugh, mine didn't say that. Um, I would definitely ask. I mean, every surgeon's office has like a different protocol, different recommendations, different supplements you shouldn't take, how long you shouldn't work out for, should you massage. It's just those kind of things are like practice specific, just like no red wine 2 weeks before or after. That would have been a hard one for me. I'm not lying. So I would ask why. Maybe it's anesthesia related. Maybe it's liver related. Maybe it's medical history related. You know, there's so many different things, and maybe that's just part of their practice protocol. Regardless, I would do what they say to do just in case there's no like contraindication with medications or anesthesia with red wine specifically, because that would be weird, but we don't want to steer you wrong. So definitely follow your surgeon's guidelines, as much as that does suck to not have wine for 4 weeks. Red wine. Yes, Dr. Roughton is amazing. I just passed her in the hallway. I'm in Amelia, Raleigh. Alcohol thins your blood. It does do that. And if you're taking narcotics, you're not supposed to mix narcotics with alcohol because it can increase dizziness and it can stop your breathing and all that stuff too. So there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't drink post-op. But usually when you stop your pain medication, I don't know the reason beyond that, because I know pain meds you shouldn't mix with alcohol. I think we all know that by now, especially in our 30s. Okay, well, I am so far over, but I can't help it because these questions are so good. Okay, last question, unless you guys ask something. Is there anything to do pre-surgery to lessen the chance of frankenboob, like massaging or stretching? No. Unfortunately, frankenboob is the result of after surgery. So there's nothing you can really do before to prevent it. It's usually just tight chest muscles, right? Like they're going in there, they're raising it up a little bit, they're shoving a foreign object underneath it and releasing it. So it's like, so your muscles need time to stretch to allow for the implant to drop into place, right? It's like we're shoving this under a very tight rubber band, and that rubber band needs time to loosen. So it's going to squeeze it, and that's why when you have an implant, you're like, oh, this is going to be nice. I'm going to and you put your muscle there. It's like, it's like all up in here, right? And they're like, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for this. This isn't what I wanted. But as time goes on, that muscle is like, okay, I'm going to relax. And then your implant goes where it should go, and it fills up the bottom of the breast. So while frankenboob, which is when your breasts are high and tight in your collarbones, nobody signed up for that. It's not permanent, thank God. Otherwise, none of us would be doing this, right? But usually around 3 to 6 months, things are going to start moving. And by 9 months, gusts up to 12, you'll see those final results. Now, another common question I get with dropping and fluffing is one is dropping faster than the other, and they get really worried. That's actually normal. It's actually weird if they drop at the same rate, right? Like, whose two muscles recover at the same rate? I know when I work out, like, my right arm is usually less sore than my left arm. That's not abnormal because one side's stronger than the other. Same with your chest muscles. One muscle might be stronger than the other, so it's going to relax quicker, or the other one will relax quicker. So dropping at different rates, as annoying as that can be, it's totally normal. You're fine. Okay, so I went 10 minutes over. I'm so sorry about that, but I believe I answered all of your questions. I am doing this every Wednesday at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I always drop a Starbucks gift card in the group. And just a reminder for the 7 of you that are still here, there's $23 still left on that gift card. So go find it and go use it. Buy yourself a coffee. And I'm going to drink my water and wish I had some coffee. Because I can't drink coffee after 2 o'clock or I'll be up all night. I will see you guys next Wednesday at 2 o'clock. If you need me in the meantime, message me on Instagram, message me on Facebook, tag me on something. I will be there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And please let me know if you need anything from me because I am always available to help.